it's having something positive to look forward to, so that you're not always in, I mean, when you get old, you do tend to live in the past, because that's where all your memories, happy and sad, are. Yeah. But it's so unhealthy to be totally in the past. And I've got something to live for now. And something, if you want to do it, something, do it. And do it when you're young enough to do it. Don't put things off.
Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm DC. Today I'm bringing to you a very special story. It's not the usual carnivore recovery story, but having said that, the lady we're speaking to today, Gilly is her name, at 88 years old, she's very proud of the fact that she has never once taken or eaten takeaway foods like McDonald's. She's never used seed oils and vegetable oils and so on. She's always home cooked and always used animal products. But it's an emotional journey by a remarkable woman who is now 88 years young and has decided to chase her own dreams. Now, this reminds me of one of the reasons why I started this channel is because I wanted to show people that you can start again at any age and learn to live again. And she has shown me that you can do this at any age as well. And it's a great story that shows you that when life throws you curveballs, you can always pivot and change the direction of your life, no matter how old you are or how young you feel, okay? And this is a remarkable thing about Gilly. Gilly Harkham is her name. She had quite a rough time of it recently, but her whole life has been quite a struggle. She had quite an unhappy marriage, and her husband died just a couple of weeks before the lockdowns happened in the UK. And through the lockdowns, suffering from depression and other problems, she decided to chase her dreams again. And what was once her hobby is now taking off and becoming a career. So I really hope you enjoy this story. This is Gilly's story, and at 88 years young, she's showing us that you can chase your dreams at any age. So George has told me a little bit about your situation, and that you've taken up art. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your story?
Where to start? Well, I started my art. I've always enjoyed painting and drawing. I had a very good teacher at school who was a well-known artist at the time. So I think I got the bug, and my father was a painter. But my husband died a fortnight before COVID lockdown. We just got his funeral in before complete lockdown. So I was, in a very low place and bored, and nobody could come and see me, and I couldn't really grieve because, and I just decided I picked up a paintbrush one day and started doodling, and then got completely into it. And during lockdown, I was literally painting all day and sometimes all night, just, because I couldn't sleep, and I'd get sort of hooked on something and think, I've got to fix that. And 5 hours later, I'm a bit like that now. If I'm in the middle of a painting, I think, I'll just usually when I made a cup of tea or a sandwich, and I think I'll just go to the loo, go and have a look. Oh, I'll just have a look at my painting. Oh, I can see what I've got to do. So I start doing it, ignore tea and sandwich, and about 5 hours later think, when did I last eat? You get a bit obsessional. But it's worth it.
It can be good. That can be good.
Yeah, definitely. It got me through a hard time.
Yeah. Well, that's a positive, I guess. So you've obviously you said you've always enjoyed drawing. You've always enjoyed art. Did you never think about taking it up earlier on?
No, it was just something I used to do for fun. I was quite good when I was at school. I enjoyed it and had enthusiasm. On holiday, I'm not for sitting on a beach. I just always had a sketchbook in my pocket and just used to sit and draw the dogs or draw the sea, or, just I'd always sort of doodling at something. I'll sit in an evening and just sketch the dogs. But no, it was when I sort of thought I could do it. And thanks to these gorgeous guys at Barford Park, they've given me such a lot of confidence, and they've bought my stuff. I've had a couple of village exhibitions and sold a bit, but it gives you such a boost when somebody actually likes what you do and likes it enough to put it on their wall, which is lovely.
Yeah, it's a confidence boost, isn't it?
Yeah, real confidence boost, and shows you're sort of on the right track. And,
exactly. Yeah, that's a good thing. So now you must be retired. I mean, you're 88 years old now, is it?
I'm coming up. I'm 88 in a fortnight.
Wow. Well, happy birthday for then. And still so young. It's fantastic. It's really good to see. So
some days you feel very ancient, but at the moment I'm feeling very good.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, we all have those days where we feel a bit older than we should, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you do throughout your life, career-wise? Did that have anything to do with art?
No, absolutely not. I was a nurse. I was a midwife.
Okay.
I finished off my career as a sister, a midwifery sister on a ward. And then when I got married, I retired and I did some private nursing. But that's all I've done work-wise, apart from doing craft and things for people. And most of my youth and growing up and childhood spent a lot of time on a farm, so there's not much I can't do on farm work-wise.
Well, that's good.
That was my happy place.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful. It's a great way to grow up, I think. Being out on the land, being in touch with nature.
Absolutely. I was lucky. We lived by the seaside in Somerset, but we started going on holiday to his farm on Exmoor when I was about 5, and kept going until after I was married, and that's my happy place, and people, and I haven't sort of felt happy like that since. And then meeting all the George and John and the Barford people, they've sort of adopted me, and I've got the same warm, loved feeling with them that I haven't had since I used to go to the farm. They have just adopted me.
Yeah, George is a lovely guy. He's very social guy.
He's great. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's good to talk to. Yeah. So I think that's a wonderful thing too. It's something that not enough children see these days. I think being out on the farm or being out in touch with nature as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be great to see more of that.
Country.
So I know it's been a tough few years since your husband passed away. And he died of cancer, was it?
Well, he had multiple. He had cancer. He'd had a lung removed. He'd had 2 open heart surgeries, 11 skin cancer operations. But what actually killed him was what we knew he had, and he'd had for 5 years, was what they call a AAA, abdominal aortic aneurysm, which burst. And we knew that it would happen one day. We sort of lived with a a ticking time bomb for 5 years.
Yeah.
And in fact, he died in bed, you know, at home, just very quickly. But we knew it would come eventually. But it's a tough few years getting up to that. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to watch someone sort of wither away slowly, you know, to spend so much time in bed and to go through all these different.
He was not too, you know, he was up and about, but he was also in the early stages of dementia. And the man I loved and married 54 years before had changed. Because before dementia takes you over completely, it completely took away his character, and he turned into somebody who was really not very nice. So, you know, it wasn't very happy. He was, it completely changed his, who he was. So, you know, I must admit, when he died, it was less grief and more relief.
Yeah.
That,
yeah, I think it does get to that point, doesn't it? When people, when they slip away like that and they do finally pass away, it does become that, doesn't it? It does become more relief than anything, because you know that, for one, they're not suffering anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, you know,
So how long, you said you were married? 54 years. That's amazing.
Was it 54? We were married in 1965. So is that 50? I've lost my arithmetic's up. So it's probably more than that. 50, yeah, 50, something like that.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all good. That's amazing. That's fantastic. But it's sad to lose someone after being around them for so long.
It's a long, it's hard, you know, getting used to being on your own. Although, you know, in a way, I'd been on my own for a long time, because he didn't want to do any of the things that I did, and he just retreated into himself. And I think, you know, well, all my friends were saying, you know, Gilly, when because they knew I was going through it a bit for the last 5, 6, 7 years, when he started to be not very nice. And, you know, all my friends were saying, you know, Gilly, hang on, you know, it's okay. And when you're on your own, then you can get back to doing all the things you wanted to do, because I had so much I still wanted to do. But in the meantime, with those years, plus 2 years of COVID, somehow, I don't quite know what happened, but somehow I got old. You know, and you couldn't physically do all the things you thought you were going to be able to do. And so I think that's when the depression sets in as well, because it's regret and a bit of resentment and some anger. But no, these guys have rescued me.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. I understand. When you that's what, you know, a lot of people went through that the last few years, when you're stuck at home. Especially if you're by yourself, it does get very depressing. It gets very hard to think of a reason to keep going. You know, absolutely.
You know. I had thought of the end a few times, but never brave enough to do anything. But I was in a dark place, and then out of the blue, a friend introduced me to Bish and George at Barford, and literally within half an hour, goodbye depression, and I was a new person. It sounds sort of so ridiculous, but I walked away that morning, tears rolling down my face, but a great big grin from ear to ear. And I met my neighbour, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" And she said, "Well, you look different. What's happened?" And I said, "I don't know. Something has happened." She said, "I've never seen you looking so happy." And that was in one morning. So wow. it was, I will never cease being grateful to these guys.
That's great.
My horses have been my passion all my life. I've never had my own. We've never had any money. But I look around my house, every single room has got horses and pictures and horseshoes and drawings. And, you know,
Yeah.
I rode for the first time, I suppose, when I was about 5, a great big cart horse.
Beautiful animals there.
I just love them. I can't ride anymore now because I got osteoporosis, but I just so wish I could. I do miss it, but it's not so much but it's just being around horses. Just being able to go up to them and put your arms around them and get a nibble, and
yeah,
they're beautiful.
That in itself is it's very, I don't know. I think being around animals, it's very hard to be depressed around animals. You know, it's that
exactly.
Just being around their energy just feels wonderful.
Yes,
it really is.
I mean, I've got 2 dogs, and I couldn't have survived without them. They are my lifeline, and they rely on me, and I rely on them. But they've got a wonderful spirit. But horses have got such a spiritual energy, some magical energy.
There's something majestic about them.
Yes, they are a spirit from another world, and they're just, when they're treated so well like ours are, they're just amazing. I don't know whether George told you, but one of our young horses is called Bradman. His father, the sire, is a stallion called Australia, who won the Derby. And we have Bradman, who, of course, his pet name is Donald, of course. And he is a naughty boy. And he's obviously a bit of an Australian convict, because he's learned pocketing. I made a fuss with him the other day, and he had his head over my arm, and I said, "What are you doing?" And I noticed he'd nibbled through and he'd taken my watch off. So when he finishes racing, he's going to be out to work as a pickpocket.
Absolutely.
He's a real naughty lad. He's got some gorgeous horses.
They have a wonderful character about them.
Yeah,
they really do. Some of them get
so lucky. I'm so lucky now. I can actually sort of be part of them, and which is wonderful.
Yeah, it is wonderful to be around. Very uplifting.
Yeah, certainly. I bore people to death. I can't stop talking about them. People get fed up with me now.
Very good.
No.
So now, I mean, it's quite an amazing story, because I know it's very hard for a lot of people to, when they're in a depressed state and they're stuck at home, they really can't see a way out. A lot of people don't even want to find a way out.
That was it.
So what was your escape, do you think?
I had literally got such agoraphobia and apathy. I didn't want to do anything. You know, people say, "Oh, you ought to go and join, go and do so and so." And I would literally get to the front door and not want to go through it. I think, no, actually, I'd rather stay at home. I mean, I even now, going to the shops is quite hard. I do everything online. But they had just started me on treatment, and I just had 2 sessions with a friend of mine is a psychologist, and he recommended me to this talking therapy group. I went twice, and I was just so irritated and so fed up. It's sort of, I call it American navel gazing, and it was just, it was just so ridiculous, some of the things they were coming out with. And I think the worst thing that made me completely lose my temper and slam the computer down and walk out swearing, never to go back again. She was saying, one thing you have to do is set one part of your day out as a worry time. Then you can keep all your worries and worry in that time. I thought, what? And then somebody put in on the chat, what do you do if you haven't got any worries? And I just I completely blew my stack and said some very bad words, chucked my computer. That is the end of that. And I didn't know what I was going to do until, as I say, our friend Rachel, out of the blue, would you be interested? I've heard about this new yard, and she knows that I had met her before to do with horses. And I said, yes, of course I am, but I wasn't very sure, and I didn't really want to go out. And I thought, well, oh, come on, it's only near home, you can do this. So I went, but within half an hour, meeting those guys and then meeting the horses, I came out, and it sort of sounds a bit sort of evangelistic, but I came out and thought, well, goodbye depression. I'm better. I knew then I'd got something to look forward. It's having something positive to look forward to, so that you're not always in. I mean, when you get old, you do tend to live in the past, because that's where all your memories, happy and sad, are. Yeah. But it's so unhealthy to be totally in the past. And I've got something to live for now. And
yeah, that's a good point. We tend to think about the past and what we've lost so much that we forget about what we could have in the future.
Exactly.
That was a big struggle for me too. It's always, for years I was thinking about things that I had lost rather than what I could still do. So it's when you do finally get up and about and go out again, and you realize that there is more, that there is something you can still do.
Yeah,
it's very uplifting.
Yes, I'm lucky because my other big hobby is singing, and that's so good for you as well. And I kept that going. There were only a few weeks when I just could not even. I knew that if I couldn't make choir practice, there was seriously something wrong, because I'd gone to that through thick and thin. And I went a couple of days after my husband died, and I never stopped going. And it's a very uplifting little choir that we have. It's great. But
that's good.
I still do it now. I do love singing. That's the other thing.
Having friends makes a big difference too.
Yeah,
laughter. I think is probably you will agree after meeting George. I think laughter and having a sense of humor makes a very big difference.
Oh yes, and it's so wonderful because when you've lost that, I didn't think I said to George the other day, I'd forgotten what happy meant.
Yeah, you do.
Suddenly to feel joyful again and silly and to have a giggle is just so wonderful.
It is. It's a great feeling. And you do forget, you do forget what it's like to laugh. You forget to laugh at just silly things too, because everything becomes so serious and you're thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But then you just let go and relax, and just the silliest thing can make you laugh.
Yes. I do. I haven't got many local friends. Well, up to now. It sounds silly. I mean, I've lived in the same village for 73 years. But I know I'm not a traveller, as you can gather. All my friends, my hobbies were far away. I mean, I have raced my dogs all my life, 45 years. I've raced my dogs every weekend. I've been up and down the motorway, hundreds of miles every weekend. So all my friends are all over the country, and we meet every weekend with our dogs. And so, all my friends are now just on Facebook, and we talk every evening. But people say, don't you know? So I don't know many people in the village because I don't live right in the village. And I don't belong to the sort of boring things that most old people do. I don't do WI and all those sort of things. And they're all full of old people,
Well, that's great. You're only as old as you feel, and if you start hanging around those people, will aid you.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's why, I mean, George keeps saying, I can't believe, you know, you're not that old. And he keeps saying, I'm only middle-aged and I'm going to live till 120. I said, I don't think so. I swear it's because most of the time my friends have been young friends. I've always sort of mixed with people younger than me, and it sort of makes, they'll say, oh, come on, keep up. And they'll make you, you know, stop being old.
Yeah, they're not very forgiving.
Exactly. But
Well, that's a
the only
good
thing
thing.
I do, I try not to disagree with George, but I do disagree with, well, not disagree, but he's told me so much that of this diet that you two, he's told me a lot about you. And he talks about his wonderful diet and how well he is. But then he said, well, from the way you're going on, you can't be doing much wrong. So he'll never convert me.
Fair enough.
We went out to lunch last Sunday with our group. One of our numbers got a lovely local bistro. We all went out for Sunday lunch a couple of weeks ago, and I was dying to, because George had said he never ate anything but meat, and I didn't really believe him. I didn't think it was possible. So I thought, right, let's have a look at your plate, mate. And yes, just nothing but big slices of very nice beef, but to my mind, it was missing some nice roast potatoes and gravy.
Yeah.
But
I got to admit, I used to very much like the old roast potatoes, especially with a nice big roast lamb.
Oh, yes.
So
roast lamb and loads of onion sauce.
So what is your diet like then?
Well, it's not bad. I mean, I've got lazy, and I think you do when you live on your own.
Absolutely.
There are some days I really just can't be bothered to cook, and I do rely on this. There's a company called Wiltshire Farm Foods, and they deliver your meals, and they're pretty healthy meals. I mean, I've always have ate healthily, and I suppose when I was a war baby, I was brought up in the war, so you know it was very basic. But consequently, you know, we were
always home cooked meals, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I think my mother was a brilliant cook, and she taught me what my husband always used to call elastic cookery, because we were poor and Sam lost his job a couple of times, and so we were on the breadline. And my mother had taught me this elastic. In other words, you get a piece of meat which is extremely expensive, and you know during the war you couldn't afford, and to make it stretch to 4 people, you know, and we were pretty good at that. And yes, everything homemade. I mean, I hate buying bought things now, but I was saying to George, one thing I'm proud of in my life, I have never ever set foot in a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Never had one.
Yeah,
and
that makes a big difference. Yeah. Even if you are poor and you don't have as much options or meat as you should. The fact that it's not so ultra processed sort of junk food makes a very big difference to your life.
I mean, we decided if we can't afford proper meat, well then you don't have it very often, but when you do, you get proper meat, you know. And I try not to eat much I do have bacon, I do have sausages occasionally, but I do eat a lot of vegetables. And I know my downfall is probably bread and the dreaded sugar. I do eat. I gave up sugar in my tea for 2 years. My son kept saying, oh, in a few weeks, Mum, you won't want it. In a few weeks, you will hate it. It didn't happen. And after 2 years, I was not very well, and I was dehydrated because I didn't like it. I wasn't drinking. So I have gone back, but only half what I was having. So, that's fine. But I do eat grains.
Yeah, I think with sugar is highly addictive. It's like it's more addictive than heroin. So it's I think the addiction, the cravings will probably always be there unless you cut out all carbohydrates, like we do. But it's very easy to pick up an addiction.
Yeah, I do. I must admit, bread is my go-to. You know, if you're
Yeah.
hungry, it's a quick sandwich. It's the easy thing, isn't it? But I eat a lot of proper dairy. I mean, I was brought up half on a farm. So, I mean, it's always proper butter and full cream milk and lots of proper cheese and cream. And yeah, I like
Lots
proper.
of fat is good.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes a big difference.
Oh, that morning snack when you've milked the cows, you come in 10 o'clock and big snack, big chunk of homemade bread and a great dollop of beef dripping from them. Ah, just amazing.
Yeah, homemade bread is much better too. You know, as long as that store bought stuff is just horrible. But you know, even homemade bread is going to be healthier. But you know, you got to have the fat on it. You got to add
Oh,
that
yeah.
big lots of butter and
Proper
tallow and
butter. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, absolutely. It makes a very big difference to your immune system. Keeps you
Oh, yeah.
going, keeps you fighting.
I
Yeah.
mean, we go out and, you know, we do a lot of foraging and we've always sort of picked blackberries and, you know, and sort of mushrooms, and we do sort of country foraging like country people
I remember
do.
doing that myself. You know, one of the kids would go out picking berries and things like
Oh,
that. It's
yeah.
something kids just don't get to do these days.
It's people don't know. Oh, what are you doing? You know, they. Oh, are you sure? All my life we've picked mushrooms and blackberries and sloes. My husband used to make wine. We'd have elderberry wine and sloe wine and sloe gin and
That sounds nice.
making use of nature's bounty. Nature gives you these lovely things, and you make use of them.
I agree. Yeah, if you can't pick it yourself, then don't eat it.
We used to have
And
our own.
that's kind of shocked my wife actually. Not so long ago, we were staying at a place that had a mulberry bush at the back. I started eating bushes, you know, the mulberries straight off the bush.
Gorgeous.
She couldn't believe it because I didn't buy it. Are you sure they're okay? She was waiting for me to peel over.
Oh, I walk along the hedgerows eating blackberries as I go, and you just have to make sure you don't pick the low ones that haven't been peed on, you know.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, make sure they're ripe too. It helps.
Oh,
But
yes.
yeah, you always end up with purple fingers.
Oh, yes. And the dogs help. I used to have a dog who used to stand on his hind legs and be picking the berries alongside me, you know, managing not to get prickled.
Nice. So this whole art journey, then now you're doing local shows and you're starting to sell art. When did you pick this up again?
Well, I started during lockdown, and I'm still painting every day now.
Oh, that's
at the moment, I'm painting the horses for John at the yard. I've painted a head portrait of each of the horses so far, which is rather. I'm very honoured to ask me, because I've never painted horses before. I painted a lot of dogs, but I thought, well, I know I can't do that. I'm not good enough. And go on, yes, you can have a go. And I was quite surprised, and they liked them. So yes, I've done them, but I'm in the middle of a seascape now. I just do local landscapes and seascapes and shorelines and cliffs, and the colours are so beautiful around here at the moment. Loads of purple heather and yellow broom.
You're heading into let me see, autumn now.
Autumn, yes. The leaves are just beginning to fall off, and go lovely colours soon. And up on the moor, we live just at the edge of the Quantocks, which is a moorland area, like Exmoor. And there's loads of heather and gorse. And of course, the berries on the rowan and the holly are all coming out. It's very colourful, lovely.
Oh, that's nice.
Really pretty, everyone.
It reminds me of autumn in Japan, where I used to live in Japan, and the season changes. It's so beautiful. It's very much Japanese love to celebrate every season, and in autumn they'd travel for hours just to see the changing of the leaves.
Oh,
And
lovely.
some of them are just absolutely beautiful, vibrant colors, especially the Japanese maple tree.
Oh,
They
yes.
go an
Yes.
extremely
All
bright red.
scarlet
Yeah,
and yellow and
yeah,
beautiful. In the
yeah,
spring,
really
the
pretty.
blossom is wonderful, isn't
Yeah,
it? Too?
yeah. The blossoms are fantastic in the spring.
Really
Yeah,
gorgeous. Yes, I've got lots in my garden. I've got a lot of blossom in my garden, leaves. I've got a very leafy garden.
oh, that's nice.
I've got a big garden, which is almost too much for me, but I can still do it.
That's amazing. Hmm.
Still working at it.
So, I mean, it's incredible. You're still doing all this. You're maintaining your home. You're maintaining your garden. You have now. You're actually creating and selling art at 88. So what's next for you?
Staying alive so that I can see the horses come to their best and be actually there when they race. So I've got to
Yeah.
keep fit now. I've got something to live for now, to watch the babies they've been broken and now watching them start their training and hopefully watch them through their careers. I've got to stay fit now for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. So what advice would you give, say, younger people for living a happier and longer life then?
Oh goodness, I wouldn't dream of giving anybody advice. Maybe if I had no courage, and for many years my marriage was not happy. I cried more than I laughed. And looking back, I wish I had had. These days, kids get married, the first argument, they're off. No, I've just split up with my husband. You've only been married? Yes. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think if I'd had the knowledge or the money or the confidence or everything, I wouldn't have stuck being miserable as long as I did. But makes it sound as if it was awful. It was sort of patchy, we had some good times, some very good times, but there was a lot of sort of being a bit bullied and put down, and things weren't brilliant. We had some family problems, but no, I didn't have my own job. I didn't have my own money. I had no idea. I suppose the way I was brought up, I was quite strictly brought up. I went to a convent school. I was very naive, I think, sort of innocent. I had no idea if I wanted to leave. I didn't know how to. I just, there was always something, well, I couldn't do because of that, and I couldn't leave but I think, only advice is be happy, don't get wallowing in misery. And I think, try and eat properly. Just, don't eat junk.
That I think, that is always a big thing. I think food has a very big thing to do it. Like people are, they think they're smart enough to create their own food and stupid enough to eat it. It's a very big problem now. But I think you're right. Having courage is a very big part of life. I think courage to live. It's not really. So I had a sister, my eldest sister. She took her own life many years ago. She was in a similar situation. She had a very unhappy marriage, and that to me, that's not a courageous thing. To me, that's a very. I think it's much easier to do that than it is to face life. I think you need more courage to actually live life and to carry on and to try and make a better life for yourself. I've seen a lot of people do that throughout the years. After the, the earthquake we survived in Japan, a lot of people did that as well. And it's very easy for people to see when they do get depressed, when they get in a situation where they feel like they've lost everything or they just don't have a way out. They tend to do that because it's just, I don't know, it's easy.
Yeah. To be honest, I sort of had a half-hearted attempt when one of my children was very young. Things were very bad at that point. We had problems with him, and my husband was not good at that point. And I went out. I'd been crying all day, and I got to the end of my tether in the evening, and I walked out, and we lived near a river at that point, and I sat on the edge of this river, seriously thinking, you know, that would be a nice end. And after a bit, I thought, something pulled me back, and I went home, and it was a real eye-opener. Because I walked in and I was obviously a bit shaken and a bit crying and was wet because it was a winter's night. And my husband was sitting by the fire and he hadn't even noticed I'd gone, you know, never. And I didn't have, you know, are you all right? What's happening? No. So afterwards I said, did you notice I wasn't? No, did you go out? No, I didn't notice. So I thought, well, there's no point making a gesture because nobody notices. So
yeah. Wow.
But I think you've got something. If you want to do something, do it, and do it when you're young enough to do it. Don't put things off. Just try and follow your heart, follow your dreams, and make.
I think, like you said before, you still have things that you wanted to do.
Yeah,
that makes a big thing. Yeah, I was the same. It's coming out of treatments or going through treatments. Still, there's still just things that I want to do. And I think that's what keeps you going.
Yes, absolutely. I was so shocked that when I had the time and I was on my own, I could do what I wanted. I then found I couldn't do it because I was older than I'd remembered. Physically, things weren't as easy. I wanted to get back to riding. I wanted to get back to going down to the sea every couple of weeks. I missed surfing and swimming, and so I couldn't. Well, I couldn't drive very far anymore. I used to drive down to Cornwall 2 or 3 times, a lot in the summer, and drive all to my racing places. But I can't do that anymore. My confidence with driving has gone. I still drive, but I don't drive long. I don't drive long distances anymore, and I don't like coping with heavy traffic. But no, I'm going to fight to carry on my driving as long as I can, because that's your independence. I'm not losing independence for anybody.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Being independent is so important.
When you live out in the country, we've got no buses. There's no transport. And you're reliant on your car. Otherwise, you are housebound.
Yeah.
So got to fight for that.
Yeah, it's a long walk to town.
Oh gosh, yes, and I can do about a quarter of an hour now before I fold up. Legs aren't that good, and the heart's not that brilliant. But I do yoga every week. I love that.
Yeah, I love that's great. Yeah, see, there's a thing too. That's something I tell people too. You may not be able to do the things you did before, but you can still do something.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's one thing that sort of keeps me going, is that there's still things that I want to do, even though I can't. And it's difficult to face sometimes, not being able to do the things you used to do. But try and do the things that you can now, and the things that you can do will actually get better as you go.
Yes, exactly. So I can still swim. And I think my painting is improving. And, people say that my style has changed. And so I'm relishing improving my painting.
Well, that's a good thing. And obviously you're doing that every day, so it has to get better.
Yeah, exactly. I've got my aim at the moment is to stop being so lazy and to sort of get back to proper cooking again. But it's no joy cooking and eating alone. The whole joy of food and cooking is feeding
To
somebody
share.
else and sharing a
Yeah.
meal, and you know, you go to ages in the kitchen, piles of washing up, and you've got something on your plate which is gone in 3 minutes, and then you've got all the washing up to do. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, cooking for yourself is never much fun.
Not a lot
And
of
like you
fun.
said, yeah, the meal lasts 3 minutes, and the
Yeah.
preparation and plates and everything lasts an hour or so.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm sure by now you've fallen in love with young Gilly. She's just remarkable, lovely lady. But I wanted to show you just some of her artwork that she has been doing. And like I said before, she's turning her hobby into a career at 88 years old, which is just remarkable. I think it's just fantastic. So make it full screen. So I really hope you're enjoying the interview. Let's continue from here, and we'll say goodbye to Gilly.
I must
Not
try
much
not
fun
to
in
be
that.
so lazy.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to eat more meat, but it's a bit expensive.
Yeah, well, everything is getting expensive at the moment.
Oh, shocking, isn't it? Yeah.
It's shocking. Okay, so I mean, it's been just absolutely wonderful to meet you, Gilly. I'm really glad that George introduced us, because I love to see people who, I mean, everyone gets down. We all have problems in life, but it's lovely to see people come back from that and actually see the brighter side of life as well, and to enjoy themselves again. I think that's a big thing people don't see enough of. And it's wonderful to see someone, especially like yourself, who's picking up a skill and turning it, not so much, well, taking it from a hobby into something that could be more.
I hope so.
Yeah.
There's one of mine behind me.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
So, yes, I enjoy it. So, I've always hoped that I could find a gallery, like a permanent place that would show them, but I haven't managed that yet. But I've got time.
Well, there's time. There's
There's
always
time.
Yeah.
There is now. Now I've been told I'm only middle-aged.
Well, that's the answer of it. George has decided.
George has decided I'm middle-aged and I'm going to live till 120. So I've got lots of time.
That's right.
You know what
The
state
skill should
I'd
be
be?
perfected by then.
I should be wheeled around in a wheelbarrow, I think, by then.
You never know. You never know. You might be carrying the wheelbarrow yourself.
Yes. Well, there was a famous old painter in America, wasn't there? Grandma Moses, and she only started in her 80s. So,
that's right. Yeah. So you never know. You might be a very famous artist before you know it.
Yeah, I'd rather go and look at art that I do like.
Well, I think all the best artists never went to school for it.
No, I was lucky. And people say, "Where were you trained?" Well, I wasn't, but I suppose I can remember sitting on the floor between my father's knees. He had his easel, and I remember sitting on the floor with a little baby easel by my feet and painting while he was painting. And I had this very, very good teacher at school who was called Cecile Crombeck, who was at her paintings. I've got 2 of her paintings. And she was such a lovely artist. And I think she instilled the enthusiasm and the basic sort of love that sort of lay dormant for many years, but it was still there. And yes, I love her work. And,
oh, that's great. And like you said, it's a great thing that you still carried that passion with you. A lot of us lose our passion,
Yes,
as we grow up. Our dreams become fantasies, basically,
yes,
and we sort of lose that passion to follow the dream. And
yes,
but at least now you are. I mean, you can do as much as you want. That's
yes,
fantastic. That's
exactly. And combine it with, I have always had this mad passion for horses ever since I was a very tiny little girl. People had sort of pin-ups of film stars on their desks when they were at school. No, I had a horse. It was a cowboy horse, and I was just always mad on horses, and to be able to fulfill that now at this age, that's more precious than anything to me. Okay, I don't ride them anymore, but to be close to them and
you
feel
still
their energy.
appreciate them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
Yeah.
terribly lucky. Terribly
Yeah,
lucky.
that's wonderful. Yeah, I agree. Like, I just appreciate being around them. Just being around the animals themselves. It's
Yeah,
just it's it's a real blessing, I think. Yeah.
definitely.
So
My two little dogs are asleep right beside me now, and if I'm painting, their bed is up. I've got a bed beside me up in my studio. I've turned one of my spare room into my studio. The moment I go upstairs, they know where I'm going, and the two of them beaten me to it. And they've got to their bed before me, and they've settled down, like, here we go. And they'll stay there all day without moving. As long as I'm in the studio painting, they're beside me. They won't move. And
yeah,
they're just, yeah, they're my, I call them my Velcro dogs because they're stuck to my leg permanently.
yeah,
You'd have somebody else to talk to.
it's good.
I read
Yeah,
your story, and I do so admire what you've done, and you've
well,
been
thank you.
through hell, haven't you? And well done,
Yeah,
really.
it's been tough, but a lot of people have been through tough times before too.
Yeah,
Um,
you look great.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm certainly feeling a lot better nowadays. Yeah, things are certainly improving. Um,
Well, good for
so
you.
yeah, it has been a long journey, but yeah, hopefully, stories like ours, like yours and myself, we can give hope to other people.
Yeah,
Because
yes,
um, I know there are tough times. Everyone goes through tough periods in their life, but
exactly.
like I said before, it's not a permanent thing. You know, I don't look at them as permanent things. Like they do pass. So I hope that people sort of get past these situations, and they can, if they find that there are still things that they want to do in life, then at least try for it.
Get
Then
out and try and do it. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And like you said before, to have a bit of courage to try, to give it a
Yeah.
go. Yeah, that's a big thing,
I think I
and it
got
can
it
be
from
scary.
my mother. My mother was widowed very, very young. My father died age 45.
Oh,
And we were left, something went very wrong with the money. So we didn't have any money. She was swindled out of dad's money. Um,
mm,
and she had left school at 14 in Manchester and had nothing. But she married dad, who was quite well off. But at about age 48, she went back to school. She took all her O levels and A levels by night school when I was a little girl, and took herself to Bristol University, and became a teacher. So I mean, you can get over hard times.
yeah, that's tough. That's really
Yeah,
tough.
yeah,
Yeah,
it, it,
but you
it
can do
was.
it.
Yeah,
Mm,
she did it, and she was a tough little bird, you know.
yeah,
So
that's
maybe I've
amazing.
got some of her genes.
Well, definitely. Yeah, obviously. So that's good to hear. All right. Well, that's about all I've got time for. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
I'd love that. Thank you,
That'd be
DC. It was
great.
a pleasure. Great to meet you. Thank you very much.
You too. You have a great week, and
And
we'll talk
you.
again soon.
And all the best to Oz.
All the best to you. Okay.
Thank you, my
Take
dear.
care,
Good to
Gilly.
meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.